What's that? Who's there? Get out of here. Ugh. I don't know what it is, but this place just gives you the chills. Like even leading up to it, the air just seemed different. Seemed just like heavy, thick, kind of tightness in your chest. It's time to get out of here. Hey guys. Weird, I'm not sure what they're doing. One thing I will say weird about this trail, you look around, you think you're the only one here, and there's just random people. Kind of odd. Hey guys, here we are, exploring the most haunted tunnel in America. So go ahead, hit that like and subscribe, and we'll get right into it. Got goats on the trail already. So this is an old rail trail. Goes to an old mining town called Moonville. We're headed towards the Moonville Tunnel. The Moonville Tunnel was originally part of the Cincinnati Marietta Railway. The tunnel was built in the mid-1800s to connect the mining town of Moonville, and it was the only way to get to the town. The tunnel was only wide enough for the rail itself, with no provision for pedestrian traffic. So it wasn't long before people were being killed along the tracks, being run over, hit by trains. There's sheer cliffs on each side, no other way to get through. People were being run over. Many people were killed along those tracks. Now it's just a rail trail, all the tracks are gone, but the tunnels still remain. It's considered one of, if not the most haunted tunnel in America, leading to the abandoned ghost town of Moonville, the Moonville Tunnel. So a few of the most prominent ghosts that have been spotted in this tunnel here. One is either called the brakeman or the engineer. There have been train collisions on this part of the track at the tunnel here. So there's believed to be the ghost of the engineer or conductor who died, or a brakeman, depending on which reports you hear. Has been described as all of those, but basically a railroad worker with a lantern is seen in this tunnel warning off people as they come through. That's one of the main ghosts that's commonly seen in the tunnel here. Another is called the Bully. Back in the 1800s, there was a town drunk. It was kind of a bully who picked fights with people, and he wasn't well liked. One night, after a night of drinking, the next day he was found dead on the tracks. So they don't know if somebody killed him and left him by the tracks, if he was hit, fell on the tracks, drunk and died, was run over. No one really knows. But his ghost supposedly is seen from time to time as you enter the tunnel. And some people have even said that he throws down pebbles or little pieces of stone that are, you know, unmistakably someone throwing a stone at him, but there's no one there. And that's the Bully. The third common ghost that's you know, talked about and seen by many people at the tunnel here is the Lavender Lady. This is an elderly woman that's commonly seen wearing a dress along the trail. She's walking along where the tracks used to be, and then she often vanishes or disappears, but there's a scent of lavender left behind, whether it's like old lady perfume or flowers, not really sure, but it's been reported by many people, the Lavender Lady. So we'll see what we see here today. His first tunnel. This is not the Moonville Tunnel. Wow. You can see there's no real bypass for this either. This is the King's Hollow, or King's Holler, depending on your pronunciation, tunnel. The first rail tunnel that we'll go through here. Wow. There's not really been anything reported about this tunnel being haunted in any way, but it definitely has that smell of an old railroad. And it's definitely spooky, but made through that with no trouble. Strangely, these tunnels, you go through both of them, but there's not really anything reported that I hear about that tunnel at all. Just an old railroad tunnel. It is kind of wide. Perhaps there was enough width on each side. The Moonville Tunnel is supposed to be much narrower, you know, built in a time before safety was even a consideration or even an afterthought. And once people started and the train went around the corner, there was no time to get out of the way and no way to outrun the train. Perhaps the Moonville, we'll see when we get up here. It's much more dangerous looking or narrow. And we'll see what we run into. So there's the King's Hollow Tunnel. First one down. Let's see what we run into. There's another gate. I think the gates are to deter motorized traffic. But any bicycle or foot traffic is totally welcome. Not as smooth as a lot of rail trails I've seen. Definitely a little more rugged. So the girl I talked to, it was like the farmer with the goats up the road, said you'll cross the road and then you see the second tunnel after you cross the bridge. So we crossed the first tunnel, the road, and here's the bridge. It's like horses are through here. It's really a beautiful trail. Very low traffic compared to a lot of rail trails here. This is a very remote location. You know, back in the 1800s, this would have been a remote location. Even more so today. Because the town that was here, there used to be a town here. Now, there isn't even a town. The woods have reclaimed it. And I think of the old Moonville ghost town. I don't believe any structures are still standing. I think there may be an old cemetery. Maybe the foundations. I'm not sure what's visible other than the tunnel as a monument to time. And you can see on the King's Hollow Tunnel how steep it was around the other sides. So if you had to get along there, even if it's more work, it's very tempting to just cut through the tunnel if you think you can do so safely. Lots of rock here. This southeast portion of Ohio is some of the most rugged and least developed areas of the state. Ohio kind of has everything from wilderness area to farmlands to big developed cities. And this is definitely in the more rugged, remote areas. A lot of you may be wondering, hey, Ohio, I didn't know they even had mining. Well, in southeast Ohio, there's a history of coal mining there, as well as mining for iron ore. Before Pittsburgh and some of the bigger, more well-known cities with steel production, a lot of southeast Ohio, anywhere that was accessible by the rivers, they would mine iron ore, pig iron, out of the hillside, and they would ship it further downstream. They'd also do a lot of coke production. So there's history of iron and coal mining all through this region, which is kind of interesting to think. Most of that industry has died away. That 150 years ago could be a lot more industrious in these remote foothills of Appalachia than you even see today. Just remnants of history. A lot of it's lost to time. Former rail trails, tunnels. But that type of industry is what built America, really. And before you had the highway system to connect the entire country, and before even the railroads were built, you had the rivers. And we're close to the Hocking River here, which is a tributary that eventually flows into the Ohio River, which is a main tributary for transportation. So you had the rivers first, after the rivers followed by the railroads, and then after the railroads had their day, then you get to the modern highway system we have now. Of course, we still use rail and barge traffic on the rivers, but it's not the primary method of travel for people like it used to be 150 years ago. Now, this is just a beautiful trail. Haunted tunnels aside, this is a really nice remote ride. If you're down in this part of the state or passing through, I'd like to remind you, all adventures like this, whether we're exploring ghost ships or abandoned haunted tunnels, always starts with a great cup of coffee. Get 10% off your next order. Or resupply coffee with discount code Buckeye10. Link in the description below. Wow. There's some wetlands. I wasn't expecting to see that. We're in kind of the hill country. You can see the railroad line was built up. But yeah, between the creeks and these Appalachian foothills, or Appalachian, if you know, we got a swamp here. Oh, we got some ducks down there. It's like a beaver dam, or a beaver dam analog. If you don't know, a beaver dam analog is something that serves the same function as a beaver dam: erosion control, flood control, even when no beavers are present. Wildlife conservationists, biologists, many times will build beaver dam analogs to provide the wetland support, even if there aren't natural beavers living in that area. Here it could be a combination of both. Not really sure. Beavers were extinct out of most of the state of Ohio. They made large comebacks, so they may live here. It's hard to say. Many of those species, whether you're talking beavers, river otters, all those that, you know, even 50 years ago were never seen or gone, made full comebacks. Really conservation successes everywhere you look in Ohio. You know, with the amount of deer that we have, a lot of people don't realize that deer were actually extinct from the state of Ohio. They were reintroduced during the Great Depression in the 1930s. Now we have more deer than have ever lived here due to agriculture and the ability to sustain herds at those numbers. I think we're getting close to the tunnel. Weird. Almost like the air is changing. Like a shortness of breath almost. It's kind of bizarre. Moonville Rail Trail. There's a little creek. Oh, here we go, the Moonville Tunnel. Wow. You can see why people would not climb over the hill. Let's get through the tunnel. Moonville. It appears smaller than the King's Holler one. So, this is the infamous tunnel where many a person had lost their lives. This would be the target of vandals and graffiti. Wow. What do we have here? Here's another bridge. Smell the creosote. I believe that's what it is. The smell off the railroad ties. It's kind of unmistakable. The King's Hollow Tunnel is much longer, but this is the one that leads to the town of Moonville, which no longer exists. Wow. Truly is the only way into that town.